Hey guys, welcome back. So for today's video, I thought it would be interesting and fun to compare these two handbags. These are the Louis Vuitton Neverfull MMs, and one is authentic and real and one is a dupe. So I kind of wanted to go through, see what the major differences are between the two, how bad or how good of a dupe the dupe is. This video is for fun. It's for observational and educational purposes in the sense that I'm pointing out the differences between the real one versus the dupe that I noticed. But anyways, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the like button and the notification bell down below. And without further ado, if you guys would like to see the differences between these two bags, then just keep watching. These are the two bags, and I know they take up a lot of space, so I can't really have both of them in the complete frame or picture, but these are both the bags we are going to be talking about today. Any guesses on which one is real and which one is the dupe? I will give you guys a couple seconds. Okay, time is up. So the real one is this right here. This is the Louis Vuitton Neverfull MM in the Damier Ebene print. I've had this, I want to say, for 4 or 5 years now. I absolutely love this bag. The Neverfull is one of my favorite bags in the MM size because there's the PM and the GM as well. The MM is just a perfect everyday bag. I can throw stuff in it, take stuff out. I mean, granted, there's only one pocket in it, but I just love how I can throw stuff in, take stuff out. I'm not like searching through different compartments. I can see everything, and it's easy to wear. Even with a winter coat, I can kind of put it on my shoulder like that. So it's the perfect everyday bag. I saved up my money a few years ago and purchased it, and it's honestly still in really great quality. There's normal wear, like with any designer handbag. There is normal wear around the straps like so, and then this is the one with the red interior, as you guys can see, but we'll go into more detail. So I just wanted to mention it. And if you guys were wondering, the price point for this one is, I want to say, like $1,300 to $1,400 with tax. I don't really recall exactly how much I paid for it. Again, I did save up my money, but this bag has lasted me for like 5 years. I've gotten so much use out of it. I absolutely love it. And then this one right here is the dupe, and this is the dupe of the Neverfull in the Damier Azur print. And then the interior is the ballerine, the pink interior, because there's different interiors you can go with. So this is supposed to be the ballerine interior. I'm gonna start with the exterior of the bag, work my way inside, and then I also have the wristlets as well that I can compare. I know it's gonna be a little hard again to get both of these bags on camera, so I'm just gonna kind of observationally looking at them describe what the differences are that I noticed. So first off, I wanna say with like the way they feel, granted, I've used this one for years. It's definitely broken in. The canvas is broken in and there's wear on it. I would say that my bag actually feels lighter than the dupe. The dupe feels heavier in my opinion. The real one feels lighter. So that's like one major difference that I noticed. I don't know if that's like a thing, like the dupes are heavier than the real bag, but my real one definitely feels more lightweight. Now there's a couple differences when it comes to these side straps. These side straps on the real one are not flimsy at all. These ones are kind of like flappy, flimsy, and this little like kind of adjustment strap here, it doesn't hold very well because you can cinch these bags in. The real one, if you want to cinch it in, you just slide it up, it stays put. On the dupe, it really doesn't. It kind of is flimsy and doesn't really hold its stay. I have noticed that. Next off is the straps. Again, they're flimsier than the real one, but also I've noticed that these straps are a little bit thinner than the real straps on this. It's not like a huge difference, but I know when I was looking at them, I could tell that the straps on this one are a little bit thinner than the straps on this one. But other than that, it kind of looks like, you know, all the hardware, everything kind of lines up. Again, this, my real one, has more wear on it, so the dupe does look a little bit newer. And then the other thing I noticed is that the stitching on my real one is a little bit neater than the stitching on the dupe. That's another way to tell, is kind of look at the stitching. The stitching on my real one is definitely neat and concise, and some parts of the dupe look neat, and then others I can kind of tell it's a little bit off. It's not like too noticeable, but I'm just saying, like, by really looking at it, you can look at the stitching, and I can definitely see, I don't know if you guys can tell, but the stitching on the dupe is yellow, and it just does not look as you know, neat as the one on my real one. So I wanted to point that out. The funny thing is examining these straps, I see teeth marks on my real one. That was Coda. Coda used to bite my bag. I'd catch him biting my bag all the time, and I'm like, Coda, do not bite my bag. It's funny. I have cat marks all over my real one. So for the checkered print Louis Vuitton bags in particular, the side of the bag is a great way to tell the difference between the real and the dupe or the replica, because the checkers don't line up usually on the dupes, or the stitching's off, or the the checker or the squares are off. So first I'm going to show you what the side of my real one looks like, kind of trying to not have the straps flash, but that's what my real one looks like. And then this is what the dupe looks like. I'll hold the two together in a second, but that's what the side of this dupe one looks like. Now for me, looking at both, I'm honestly pretty impressed. The squares do line up on this one pretty good, and I was counting the number of stitches and looking at the stitching, and everything from my observation actually looks pretty good. Before we move on to the inside of the bag, there's two more things on the exterior that I wanted to point out. So in terms of where, like, the checkers and how it says Louis Vuitton Paris in some of the checkers, they're all like spaced out properly, and I counted, but the major difference I noticed is that on the dupe, the lettering is like very clear in the squares where it says Louis Vuitton Paris. Hopefully that's picking up on camera, but when I look at it, the lettering just is super, super clear. But then when I look on my real one, it's really not. It's not as clear, and like it's not as clear. And that's, I've actually heard before, a major difference as well. Dupes and replicas, it'll just look like super clear, the writing will, whereas on like an authentic one, the writing won't look as clear. So again, that's what the real one looks like. So I don't know if this is going to pick up on camera, you guys are going to notice it, but what I noticed is that the squares on the top of the real one right before the stitching are a little bit shorter than these checkers or squares before the stitching on the dupe. So that's just another difference that I noticed. Right now I have both the bags open. I'm looking at the interior. Now again, for my real authentic one, I have the red interior, and then for the dupe, it's the ballerine or the pink interior. That's the color of it. So, I mean, everything pretty much looks copacetic in terms of like the straps, the hooks, everything like that. Inside, the hardware, everything matches my authentic one. But now if you go into the nitty-gritty, that's where you're going to notice some of the differences. It's crazy because my real bag I've had for like 5 years. I've used it almost every day up until a year ago, and the interior of the bag is just so bright and vibrant. The lines are very distinguishable, but I'm going to show you guys quickly. You can see how clear the stripes are in this bag. And then looking at this dupe, granted, I know the color, the interior color is a little bit different, but it's a lot lighter. Even the print on the pocket, which I'm going to get into where it says Louis Vuitton, it's just very light. So moving on to the pockets, as you guys can see, this is the dupe, but getting back to what I was saying, do you see how faint the lettering is and the stripes and everything? It's very faint, whereas on my real one, it's very crisp, very noticeable, even the lettering. The lettering's very faint, but right there it says Louis Vuitton Paris, made in France. And then it says Louis Vuitton, and I'm going to check out all this stuff on my bag as well and compare it. I just wanted to kind of show you guys again how faint the print is. But on my real one, and I probably should have mentioned this before, I bought this online. This is made in the United States, and there's other bags that aren't made in the United States. They're made in France. So I figured I'd mention that. Mine is made in the United States. So right there, and you guys see how crisp the lettering is, the lines, everything. It's very visible, very noticeable, very easy to make out. Right there it says Louis Vuitton Paris, so it doesn't say made in France, but I think it's because my bag is made in the United States. And then in terms of the actual pocket and what it says, I want to just make sure everything says the same thing. I believe it does. Everything else on the pocket of the dupe is the same as here, except that mine does not say made in France. Leading into the next observational difference, again, I don't know if it's because mine's made in the United States, but in my bag, I actually have a tag. Do you guys see it sticking out right there? And the tag says made in the USA of imported materials. It's just a little tag that sticks out there. And then in my dupe, there is no tag. There's no tag at all. I was like looking and looking and looking. There's no tag in here. Again, I don't know if the ones that are actually made in Paris and not in the United States, if they have a tag or not. I think somebody might have told me once before that the ones that aren't made in the United States don't have a tag. I'm not really sure, but there is no tag in this bag anywhere. So for the interior of the bag, those are the differences that I noticed. Again, I'm actually pretty impressed and surprised with the dupe. There were some differences in there, but next I wanted to get into the wristlets that come with the Neverfull. And this is another reason why I absolutely love the Louis Vuitton Neverfulls, because they include these wristlets. It's like you're getting 2 bags in one. I love to use these wristlets for going out when I don't want to carry around like a big bulky purse. So I wanted to kind of just compare the two and see what differences there are, especially because they're smaller, so it's easier to kind of compare these on camera. Now again, the first thing that I noticed with the wristlets, and I mean it's not like it's a big deal or anything, but it's the straps. Now, looking at the stitching on these straps compared to my real one, and I'm hoping that you guys will be able to notice it, the stitching on my real bag is much more neater than the stitching on the dupe. I mean, the stitching on the dupe in some parts is really neat, but I'm also noticing that the stitching on my real one is more of a straight line, whereas the stitching on the dupe is kind of like angled a little bit. So the next thing I want to do and show you guys is hold them up together and see if like one's bigger than the other, but honestly you guys, they are the same size, as you guys can see, same size. And then looking at all the hardware, mine obviously I've gotten so much use out of my wristlet, so it's gonna look a little bit more worn than the dupe, but the hardware matches up. I'm just kind of visibly checking everything out to see, you know, the LV logo where it is on mine and on this. So everything kind of looks like it's a match. Again, I just feel like these straps are a little bit flimsier than the real deal, if that makes sense. But other than that, everything looks fine. And then next, I want to kind of just look at the checkers on this one and then the checkers on this one. You definitely can notice more on the wristlets because they're smaller and it's easier to show you guys on camera. So for the most part, the stitching on this side of the bag, the stitching goes like around like that. It looks pretty straight. There's an area up here where it kind of looks like it's a little bit out of line, but honestly, you guys, you really have to be looking. But then on this side, the stitching's more of like that angled kind of stitching. And again, I don't know if it's going to pick up on camera. So when you look at my real one, the stitching, as I was saying, is a complete straight line the whole way down on the entire bag. There's no angles to this stitching. It's very precise. Again, you can kind of just like look at the stitching and that's how you tell. And this is like my first time really looking at the stitching very thoroughly. Again, I don't know how well it's going to pick up on camera, but it's not bad. It's just something that you really got to zoom in and look at. But the stitching on my real Louis Vuitton is definitely straight line, more neat. And then on this, it's kind of like more jagged. If you look here, it's like very slightly angled compared to the real one. So I figured I'd mention out, again, the stitching is kind of like the biggest thing I'm noticing. You really got to tune in and look at it. Now we can kind of move on into the interior of the bag and see what the major differences are. Again, the first difference is going to be that mine says Louis Vuitton Paris right there. This says Louis Vuitton Paris made in France. I already pointed that out before, but this is kind of what the interior looks like. Again, the lines almost look a little bit darker in the wristlet and they're more faint in the actual interior of the handbag. But the interior pretty much matches like what the real one is. There's a pocket, everything like that. So next, my wristlet does have that tag again that says made in the USA. It's kind of like right there. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm moving it right there. But there is a tag in this one. There is no tag in this one. Again, I'm not sure because since mine's made in the USA, it might just include the tag. And then I know in the wristlet, it kind of includes like a little tag in the pocket with a number. So I'm looking at my real one right now and I'm looking at it. It's like kind of like where my thumb is. I know this is going to be like really hard to see. There's a little tag there with numbers. I'm guessing that that's like the serial number. And then the dupe actually does include that as well, which I'm shocked right there, as you guys can see, and it does have a number on it as well. So there's only like a couple differences for the interior of these bags. For the most part, I definitely notice a majority of the differences on the exterior of the bag with the stitching, with the straps. The straps, for me, I can kind of just really tell when you feel them, when you look at them. And then for the bag, as I was saying before, the real one, you want to adjust the bag, the straps stay in place. On the dupe, it kind of slides out of place, so that's definitely a major difference that I noticed. So overall, you guys, I'm really impressed. This kind of shows you guys what to look for when comparing and looking at dupes versus the real deal, stitching, straps, kind of looking at what it says on the inside. There's definitely some major differences that point out that this is a dupe compared to my real bag. But overall, I mean, honestly, I would say that this is a pretty good dupe. I don't know if I'm even supposed to say that. That is it for this video. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought between the two bags, how good or how bad the dupe was. I would be interested to find out. Again, this was just kind of like for fun, for interest, for curiosity, and I kind of actually learned some things too when looking at the real versus dupe, what to look at. The stitching is definitely key, but I am pretty impressed. But anyways, that is it. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.